Hello everyone, today I'd like to talk to you guys about dating in Scientology, specifically in the SEOC. Now if you're a normal, shall we say, parishioner as a Scientologist who just goes every week to the normal org, dating for you, it doesn't really make it much of a difference. I mean, you will look at maybe differently, you will judge them on different merits than maybe a non-Scientologist would, but other than that, it's not really much different. The same when you are a staff member. However, when you're in the SEOC, it is quite different because in the SEOC, there is no touchy. So while you are dating, you're not allowed to. I mean, you're allowed to hold hands. That would be okay. You are allowed to give a quick little peck on the cheek, maybe even a sneaky little peck on the lips. But more than that is not allowed. You're not allowed to do any more than that. Everything else other than that, like you know. Uh, putting your hands down someone's trousers or up someone's shirt or kissing, in a more passionate way, that would be considered heavy petting. And heavy petting is not allowed while you are in the SEOC. So you don't really get to know your partner very intimately in any way before you actually commit to marriage, which is oftentimes the case that in the SEOC you have very young people getting married and then after a few months, a year or so, get divorced again because that is their dating, so to speak, but they're already legally married. They have to be legally married, and when you're married you get a little benefit of having your own room where you can sleep, because before that you would be in dormitories like you would be in the military or anything like that. So all the boys in one area, all the girls in the other area, and so they usually don't clash like that, other than when you are married and you get your own little separate small room, which is one of the very few, if not even only, benefit that you get in marriage. You don't get any other kind of benefit. If you're lucky, you are able to have, when you have a day off, on the same day off. A day off in the SEOC is usually permitted. Well, usually it's actually permitted every second week. You're allowed to have a day off on Saturday, although it is in theory half a day off, because in the morning you have to do a cleaning. You have to do a special cleaning of your dormitories where you sleep, as well as your cleaning station. That needs to be inspected, that needs to be passed, and then you can enjoy the rest of the day off when your day off has been approved. And in theory you're allowed to have a day off every 2 weeks. And I say in theory because most people do not, because you can't just have a day off. You need to get somebody to cover your post, so that your job that you're doing, somebody else has to take over and take all the responsibility that you would normally do on a Saturday. And that is rather difficult because when you work 14-16 hours a day, always running around, always emergency feeling while you are in the SEOC, and then you want to take a day off and you need to give that to somebody else who has the same amount of work or whatever. It's very difficult. Sometimes it works out. And anyway, that is called having lips, Liberation Day. And sometimes you get lucky and you can change your lips day, because as I said, you have every 2 weeks you can have in theory a day off. And if you're now married, for example, with somebody, or you're dating somebody, you can put in a request. You would have to write a CSW, a completed staff work. And the CSW, just very briefly, is anything that you want to do outside of what would be your normal job has to be written up and asked permission for you to do that as CSW. So anything involving your job directly, anything that doesn't involve your job. For example, if you need to go to the dentist, if you need to go to the doctor, if you need to go have to do something special, if you want to have a day off or whatever, anything that has not directly to do with your post and that is not already defined, that is part of your post, you need to write a CSW, and it needs to go through different terminals, and they all have to approve it. And then once it's approved, you are allowed to do that or get whatever it is that you need. And you can do a CSW, write a CSW to change your lips day, because it could be that, for example, my lips day is on this weekend, and then this person I'm dating, their lips day is on the weekend after that. So then we could never have on the same Saturday off. So you can ask for that, and then usually it works out. Usually it can be done. During my time in the SEOC, And I was in a SEOC between 2005 and 2012 in St. Hill in England. I've never heard of somebody not having their lips changed and that has been disapproved. But you have to go through the steps of actually writing this CSW to get it changed. So going back to dating is really very, well, it's very bleak, really, dating in the CO, because you don't have any special time with the person. If the person happens to be in the same organization as you, like for example in St. Hill, you have 4 organizations. You have AOSH, you have St. Hill Foundation, you have CLO and CMO. So these are the different organizations. AOSH and St. Hill Foundation, these are servicing orgs, so they provide the service directly to the public. So they do the courses, they do auditing, this sort of thing. That's where the registers are, where they reg you for money, and so on and so forth. And then CLO is Continental Liaison Office, and it's a management organization. And then CMO is Commander's Messenger Organization, and they are also a management organization, even more senior than CLO. And these are the 4 main organizations on the base of St. Hill. And if you date within the same organization, then there isn't any additional problem or difficulty, because you are on the same schedule. So you would eat at the same time, so your half an hour lunch and dinner, although I think it might be now 45 minutes dinner, because when I was in the SEOC, it was half an hour lunch, half an hour dinner, and then right at the tail end of my time in the SEOC, they extended the dinner time to 45 minutes rather than 30 minutes. But I don't know if it's still that way, or if they put it back to 30 minutes, but at that time. So your half an hour lunch, 45 minutes dinner, you may sit and eat there with the person you're dating, or even the person that you're married to. I mean, it doesn't change once you're married, you don't have more time. And then afterwards, you will work probably in different areas, so you don't even see each other. And even if you were to work in the same office, there's no chit-chatting. No chit-chatting is allowed, because if there's time to chit-chat, then it means that you're slacking off, and that time could be used for production, and obviously you're not using your time correctly. So there's no chit-chatting or anything like that. And I mean, what would you be chit-chatting about? You don't have any hobbies, you don't have any free time, you only work, so there's not really much to talk about. Anyway, and then in the evening you would go home at the same time, and then maybe be able to spend half an hour in the evening, maybe talk a little bit, go for a walk or whatever. But other than that, you don't really have any more time to get to know the other person. And again, you can't, no intense kissing, no touchy, no feeling, nothing like that before marriage. Which is why, as I said, people, they date for a short time and then they get married very quickly, and then they get divorced very quickly. I mean, it is not unusual for somebody to have been divorced 3 times in the SEOC. It's nothing unusual about that. And I personally don't have any experience with that, because of course I am, as another YouTuber called Nora likes to say, the gay. So naturally there was no dating for me. And when I was a cadet, actually, there was a girl, I think she was Italian, and I think we sort of date like how children date for about 2 weeks or something like that. And then she just, out of the blue, just broke up with me. I mean, I was devastated, naturally, but yeah, that is my own personal experience with that. Now, when you date in the SEOC, but you are on a different in a different organization. So let's say somebody is in a service organization like AOSH or St. Hill Foundation, and somebody is in management organization. Sometimes you are not allowed to date. You have to actually write a CSW, again, a complete staff work. You have to ask for permission to date somebody when they are not in the same organization. When in the same organization, it's never actually an issue. But when you work in a different organization, then it can be an issue, because the most senior organization that you go, the higher the qualifications are. Which is why in CMO, Commanders Messengers Organization, oftentimes you will have teenagers or very, very young staff members, because there are very high qualifications you need to have, or very high, they need to be quite high. And I'm saying quite high because there are quite a few other organizations much more senior than CMO, and their qualification is even higher. And so mostly you will find very young people in there because they haven't really lived much, so that they were not able to, be naughty in any sort of way. So they're all very qualified to actually be in CMO. But if you are in CMO and somebody you like to date is in AOSH, it's going to be very difficult. You have to write a CSW, ask for approval if it's allowed to happen, and it's very likely for it to not be approved, because of course you're more qualified, which means you will see things that the others do not see. You will hear things and have to do with things which are much more sensitive than somebody working in AOSH, let's say. And so that is sort of the mentality why you're not allowed to date each other. In other words, they do not trust you to keep the secret with it, for yourself, that you don't share that with your spouse or the person you're dating with. And so if you do date, if you are wanting to date like that, you have to write a CSW, ask for approval that it can be done. Now, it has happened in the past where that was approved, because maybe the person in CMO is not as senior, or the person in AOSH is very senior. Maybe they are an executive in AOSH, and so they say, all right, they have a similar kind of responsibility in some regards, so maybe that's why I approve. I don't know what exactly the qualifications would be to approve or disapprove, but yeah, that's pretty much that. Anyway, I do hope you found that interesting, maybe even entertaining. Do consider to like this video and subscribe if you find my kinds of way of talking and explaining about these sort of things interesting and entertaining. And I wish you a most marvelous day. Goodbye.